Here is Immortal Moments for explanation. Friends, like videos and subscribes to our channel. Martial Universe Season 10 Part 55 Explanation. So let's start our explanation. The deepest part of the desolate hall. Two rays of light flashed across the sky, before they showed themselves. They were Lin Dong and Ying Huan. When Lin Dong saw this familiar mountain range, many flashbacks from 3 years ago surfaced in his mind. Soon after, he smiled at Ying Huan and asked, "Do you still remember the bet we made back then?" Ying Huan used her hand to straighten a loose hair near her ear. Promptly, she pursed her red lips before she replied with a smile, "Why are you such a calculative person? Moreover, it's your fault for having such poor judgment. You could have entered the Sky Hall, yet you chose the Desolate Hall instead. You truly don't know how to appreciate kindness." Lin Dong smiled. Now that he thought about it, he really missed what happened back then. Soon after the Lin Dong duo appeared, many light figures rushed over from the distance. Following which, Ying Xuanzi, Little Martin and the rest hurried over. "What are you guys planning to do?" Ying Xuanzi looked at the two of them before glancing at the ground. From his expression, it was clear that he knew what was going on with the Great Desolate Tablet. "I am the one who told Father." Beside him, Ying Huan said in a soft voice. "It is not easy to deal with the Yimo that is being suppressed by the Great Desolate Tablet. Moreover, Dao sect will definitely be the first to suffer if it escapes." Lin Dong nodded. This matter was extremely important to Dao sect. As the sect master, it was only right for Ying Xuanzi to be informed. "Sect master, all of you should set up a formation outside. Kill anything that manages to escape from within," Lin Dong said in a deep voice. According to what Yang said, the creature being suppressed by the Great Desolate Tablet was a true king who had passed 2 reincarnation tribulations. Therefore, if that being managed to escape, it would definitely cause them a great deal of problems. "Little Martin, First Elder Zhu Li, please assist them. Nothing must go awry." Lin Dong looked at Little Martin's group and said with a grave expression. "Additionally, Martial Uncle Wu Dao, please temporarily evacuate the disciples of the Desolate Hall and move them to the other halls." Ying Huan looked at Wu Dao, who had hurried over, before she said, "Understood." After seeing this lineup, Wu Dao immediately understood the severity of this matter. He quickly acknowledged Ying Huan's orders before withdrawing. After which, he began to evacuate the disciples of the Desolate Hall. Lin Dong nodded upon seeing this. Then, with a grave expression, he looked at the land below. After which, he stomped his foot before a majestic force directly penetrated the empty space and entered the land. Rumble. The entire mountain range shook violently after that force charged into the ground. After which, a huge crack slowly spread across the land. Finally, a huge and ancient stone tablet slowly rose from within the crack. Buzz. Dark chilly wind suddenly blew across the sky after that ancient stone tablet appeared. Meanwhile, there seemed to be screeches being vaguely emitted. This unusual phenomenon caused Lin Dong's heart to sink. It seems like the Great Desolate Tablet was quite badly eroded by the demonic aura over the last 3 years. The ancient stone tablet finally broke free from the ground and completely revealed itself in front of everyone's eyes. When Lin Dong looked at it, he involuntarily clenched his fists. Currently, that huge tablet was covered with countless black demonic lines. These demonic lines were scattered across the tablet and they resembled the meridians of a person. Meanwhile, a death-like aura was being slowly emitted from the stone tablet. Other than those demonic lines, which pulsed like a heart, the stone tablet was also covered by a thick layer of ice. Currently, blue light was glimmering on that layer of ice, suppressing some of the demonic aura. As of now, I am only able to suppress some of the demonic aura and slow down the erosion," Ying Huan softly said. This layer of ice was clearly her handiwork. However, it was obvious that the true king within the Great Desolate Tablet was extremely powerful. Hence, she was unable to destroy it with her current strength. "This is more than enough," Lin Dong said solemnly. If it was not because Ying Huan had intervened and helped to suppress the demonic aura, it was likely that the Great Desolate Tablet would not be able to hang on until his return. What should we do now? Ying Huan asked. I will enter the Great Desolate Tablet and finish off that true king. Lin Dong said. Only by killing that true king would the demonic aura disappear. Following which, the Great Desolate Tablet would be able to recover. I will go with you. Ying Huan said without any hesitation. The Yimo King within the Great Desolate Tablet was extremely powerful. Therefore, she was worried and did not want Lin Dong to go by himself. Lin Dong hesitated for a moment upon hearing this. Humph, I am not weaker than you and I will not be a burden. After she saw his hesitation, Ying Huan immediately snorted softly and said. Lin Dong smiled bitterly. He pondered for a moment before he nodded. As of now, Ying Huan was indeed completely different compared to before. In fact, in an actual fight, he might not be able to defeat her. Furthermore, this was going to be an extremely dangerous task. Hence, he knew that he would have a better chance of success with her by his side. All right. This time around, we will join forces to eliminate that devil. Ying Huan nodded with satisfaction after she saw Lin Dong nodding his head. Everyone, I will leave everything on the outside to you guys. Lin Dong once again reminded Little Martin's group. After which, he extended his hand towards Ying Huan. The latter's face reddened slightly upon seeing this. After which, she placed her delicate hand into his. An icy chill spread after her little hand landed into Lin Dong's palm. It felt like ice which had been frozen for tens of thousands of years, and that chill drilled deep into his bones. Ugh. Lin Dong sighed softly in his heart, before pity flashed across his eyes. After which, he gradually tightened his grip over Ying Huan's small hand. It was as though he wanted to warm that small icy cold hand. Let's get going. Ying Huan became a little absent-minded after she detected Lin Dong's action. Promptly, she tilted her head. Her eyes were a little red as she softly urged him. Lin Dong smiled. His body moved before the both of them transformed into a ray of light and rushed into the Great Desolate Tablet. Ripples appeared on the surface of the Great Desolate Tablet just as they came into contact with it. After which, the both of them vanished. Darkness came surging over like floodwaters after they entered the Great Desolate Tablet. Lin Dong quickly but gently grabbed that icy cold palm. Buzz! An icy blue light suddenly erupted and expelled the darkness. Lin Dong turned his head and saw that Ying Huan had lifted her other hand. Meanwhile, there was an ice lamp being formed on her fingertips. Gentle yet icy cold light was being emitted from that ice lamp. Ying Huan looked at the darkness. Then, a cold glint flashed across her pretty eyes before she spoke in a faint voice, "Aren't you looking down on us by using such petty tricks?" A huge ice lotus surfaced under their feet after her voice sounded. Soon after, that ice lotus rotated, before countless flower petals shot into the darkness. Many sharp screeches followed. Those flower petals shattered, transforming into glowing spots that scattered. Lin Dong surveyed his surroundings, before he saw countless huge black snakes crouching within the darkness. Meanwhile, those snake eyes, which were filled with evil demonic aura, were staring intently at the both of them. Lin Dong slowly took a step forward, while lightning crackled within his eyes. Soon after, a thunder suddenly resounded from within his body. Then, thunder clouds began to converge within this dark space. In the next moment, countless thunderbolts crazily rained down. Instantly, this dark space became extremely dazzling and violent. Thunderbolt ancestral symbol. When Ying Huan saw the mysterious ripples being emitted from within Lin Dong's body, surprise involuntarily flashed across her pretty eyes as she softly cried out. I obtained it when I was at the chaotic demon sea. Lin Dong smiled. After which, he looked at the deepest part of the darkness and said, "It seems like the Great Desolate Tablet has already been overrun. In fact, the space within the tablet is now under the control of the true king. We can just break it." Ying Huan clenched her hand. Immediately, endless chilling aura gathered before they transformed into a cold ice-like zither. Then, her hands landed on it before she plucked the strings on her zither. The zither music sounded. Immediately, a monstrous blue icy ripple suddenly swept out from the zither. That ice ripple swept across the place, transforming into a huge ice phoenix in the process. Following which, a clear phoenix cry resounded through the darkness. Swoosh! The ice phoenix rushed forward. It was accompanied by a monstrous cold aura as it charged into the darkness, which was permeated by endless demonic aura. Finally, it exploded with a loud bang. Infinite ice seal. An icy cold voice was emitted from Ying Huan's mouth. Soon after, Lin Dong's pupils hardened when he saw that the overbearing Yimochi had actually froze. Following which, they turned into many black ice crumbs before they vanished with a bang. The darkness was disappearing at a frightening speed. The Lin Dong duo quickened their pace and chased after that darkness. This continued for a while before their footsteps began to slow. Then, their expressions gradually turned cold as they looked at the scene in front of them. Far in front of them was black barren land. Meanwhile, in the middle of that barren land, stood a black stone tablet. That stone tablet was the tablet spirit of the Great Desolate Tablet, which Lin Dong had met before. However, Lin Dong's eyes merely paused on the stone tablet for a moment. After which, he slowly shifted his attention upwards. This was because he saw a black figure seated on top of the stone tablet. TSK, what a familiar scent. Seated on the stone tablet, the devil slowly lifted his head. His crimson eyes were filled with utmost evil, and it looked as though there were endless brutality surging within them. His sharp hands grabbed that stone tablet, before he scratched it with his nails. Immediately, a couple of deep scars were left on the surface of the tablet. That devil stared at Lin Dong, before his eyes shrunk slightly. Devouring ancestral symbol? Thunderbolt ancestral symbol? TSK, you are indeed capable. To think that you managed to subdue 2 ancestral symbols. A true king who has only passed 2 reincarnation tribulations. Aren't you a little too arrogant? Ying Huan chuckled. That devil turned towards Ying Huan. In that instance, Lin Dong could sense that the demonic aura around the former's body had trembled violently. In fact, there seemed to be hatred and a deeply buried fear within its eyes. It's indeed you. Ice Master. That devil's sharp voice sounded. It seems like you have successfully reincarnated. However, from the looks of it, you have not regained your full strength. How dare you act so arrogantly in front of me? TSK. That devil roared towards the sky and said, it's just as well. I shall kill you before you regain your full strength. After that, no one will be able to stop my tribe. A gentle smile surfaced on Lin Dong's face. However, his smile was filled with icy cold intent. In the next moment, black light and lightning glow surged simultaneously in his eyes. Following which, vast and mighty ripples swept forth in all directions. Have you lost your mind after being sealed for so long? There is no telling who will be the one killed today. Demonic aura was entwining the stone tablet. Above the tablet, when that devil heard Lin Dong's words, he immediately laughed towards the sky. Then, he suddenly stood up and spoke menacingly, ignorant fool. Back when I was at the top of the world, you weren't even born. Yet, you actually dare to act so haughtily in front of me. There is no shame in admitting that you're scared. Yet, you actually try to hide your fear by putting up a strong front. Lin Dong laughed softly while the chill in his eyes grew denser. I am afraid of you? What a joke! A black glint flashed across the devil's eyes, before he snorted. Then, he suddenly stomped his foot on the ground. Immediately, monstrous demonic aura directly transformed into a 10,000 feet large devil claw, which penetrated the empty space and ruthlessly swiped at Lin Dong. Humph! Ying Huan involuntarily let out a cold snort after she saw this attack. Immediately, the cold aura circling her body swept forth. However, just as she was about to make a move, Lin Dong took the lead and stepped forward. Then, he curled his palm before an endless number of thunderbolts were formed in his palm. Bang! Loud thunderous noises resounded through this dark space. Following which, a tens of thousands of feet large lightning dragon charged forward ferociously, before it clashed head-on with that devil claw. After which, countless lightning arcs shot out and vaporized the demonic aura permeating this place. Finally, a frightening energy assault wave spread. Lindorm's and that devil's bodies all trembled. It turns out that they were pretty evenly matched. You are that little brat who came here back then, am I right? How unexpected. A boy, who was merely an ant back then, is actually quite capable now. That devil stared at Lindorm with dark and cold eyes. Clearly, he had detected a familiar scent when he exchanged blows with Lindorm previously. This ant has came back to finish you off. Lindorm chuckled. Then, he turned towards Ying Huan and said, I will set up a formation. Hence, I will need you to stall him for a while. Do not go overboard, withdraw if you cannot handle it. It is difficult to say just who is the one going overboard. Ying Huan rolled her eyes at Lindorm. After which, a frightening cold aura spread from within her body. Lindorm had barely came into contact with that cold aura, before he felt a stinging sensation on his skin. Go? An icy blue glow rose on Ying Huan's delicate figure. After which, a snow dress transformed into an ice armor. At this moment, an icy blue slim armor was appearing on her body. That ice armor covered her exquisite delicate figure, outlining her tempting curves. At this moment, Ying Huan was emitting a heroic aura together with an iciness. In fact, her dashing demeanor did not lose out to Tang Xinlian, even when the latter was wearing armor. Ying Huan clenched her hand after the ice armor appeared. Immediately, a long icy blue spear appeared. Then, she lowered her pretty eyes before a frightening aura spread. It seems like she could even match up to those peak experts, who have touched reincarnation. Be careful. Lindorm was also startled by the aura that Ying Huan had suddenly unleashed. Immediately, he involuntarily cried out. Quit being a nag. Ying Huan curled her red lips. Although she said harsh words, a happy and gentle expression appeared within her beautiful eyes on her pretty face, which was covered by cold frost. Swoosh! However, even before Lindorm could reply, Ying Huan had already dashed forward. Immediately, monstrous cold aura swept out and prevented the evil demonic aura from approaching her. Meanwhile, accompanied by many afterimages, the ice spear in her hand enveloped that devil. Humph, Ice Master, I might still be a little wary of you if we were in the ancient era. However, aren't you being too arrogant now? That devil let out a cold snort when he saw Ying Huan attack. Then, he clenched his large hand before his demonic aura agglomerated into a long black blade. Following which, he swung that blade furiously. Immediately, the empty space cracked before a blade glow filled with demonic aura flew furiously towards Ying Huan, just like a demonic dragon. Clang! Ying Huan's delicate figure flashed before the icy blue long spear in her hand penetrated the air and heavily struck against that blade filled with demonic aura. Following which, frightening cold aura surged and froze that blade glow directly. That cold aura spread. Ying Huan's toes pressed against that frozen blade glow, before the latter shattered. After which, her body had appeared above that devil. Meanwhile, her hand seals were changing rapidly. Following which, cold aura gathered before they transformed into a 10,000 feet large ice lotus. Finally, that ice lotus heavily slammed down on that devil. Roar! Streams of frightening cold aura, which could even freeze demonic aura, came sweeping forth. Promptly, that devil roared towards the sky. Immediately, his body began to swell crazily. Meanwhile, his monstrous demonic aura raged across the entire space. Break! That devil roared out loud, before he used his 10,000 feet large body to throw a punch forward. The monstrous demonic aura was like countless soaring demonic dragons. With a single punch, it blew the descending ice lotus apart. Ice fragments danced in the sky while Ying Huan hovered in the air. Meanwhile, her pretty icy blue eyes contained an increasingly bright blue glint, while her long icy blue hair was also displaying an icy cold luster. That true king is quite powerful indeed. When Lindorm saw the fight between the two of them, he involuntarily nodded. Although that true king had yet to recover his full strength, he was still able to thwart Ying Huan, who possessed the ice ancestral symbol. Therefore, he was indeed quite frightening. Set up the formation quickly. The strength of that true king is rising rapidly. If you do not hurry, even Ying Huan will no longer be able to stop him. Yang's voice swiftly sounded at this moment. Lin Dong nodded, before the expression in his eyes gradually became stern. He flipped his palm before an incomparably mysterious light formation surfaced. There were countless symbols entwined around each other within that light formation, and they were obscure and deep. It was the ancient universe formation within Lin Dong's body. After his strength surged, the might of the ancient universe formation now far exceeded what it was before. Swoosh! That light formation rushed out from Lin Dong's hand and swelled with the wind. Within a short moment, it became tens of thousands of feet in size, covering the entire dark space in the process. The ancient universe formation floated high above in the sky. Meanwhile, it looked as though the space was contorting as it rotated. Lin Dong shut his eyes before mighty mental energy and yuan power swept forth simultaneously. After which, they poured into the ancient universe formation. Then, those two powers began to slowly merge as that formation rotated. Meanwhile, an exceptionally frightening ripple was vaguely emitted. The frightening ripple emitted from that formation was also detected by that devil. Immediately, a cold glint flashed across his eyes. With a cold snort, he placed his devil claws together. Following which, an extremely concentrated beam of demonic light penetrated the space and rushed straight towards that formation. Bang! However, that demonic light had only just shot forth when a huge ice lotus suddenly appeared in front of it. Then, that ice lotus rotated before it blocked that demonic light. I am your opponent. Do not disturb him. A huge ice lotus slowly rose from a short distance away. Meanwhile, Ying Huan's alluring figure was standing within. Her faint voice was filled with an icy chill. That devil stared at Ying Huan, who was in his way, before a ferocious glint gathered in his eyes. Then, he suddenly released a low roar. Immediately, many strange seals appeared on his hands, before the monstrous demonic aura also began to gather crazily. Heaven Devil Burial Sky Seal. A roar resounded before countless demonic aura gathered and rapidly transformed into a 10,000 feet large black devil seal. Meanwhile, countless sharp howls were emitted from that devil seal and it was a frightening sight to behold. Swoosh! After that devil seal was formed, it tore through the empty space before it charged towards Ying Huan. A grave expression flashed across Ying Huan's pretty face when she saw this attack. She gently waved her hand before cold aura agglomerated and transformed into an icy blue zither. For divine beast's devil-suppressing sound. Boom! The zither strings vibrated before vast and mighty ripples surged. After which, one could see a cold glow gathering around Ying Huan. Within a couple of breaths' time, that sonic wave transformed into the four divine beasts. A green dragon, white tiger, black tortoise and vermilion bird were all made out of ice. Then, they roared towards the sky in unison before they whizzed forward and heavily collided against that huge devil seal. Bang! An earth-shaking ripple spread and many cracks were ripped on that originally distorted space. Meanwhile, both the cold aura and demonic aura suffered a heavy blow. The icy blue zither in front of Ying Huan shattered along with that sound. Meanwhile, cracks began to appear on her ice armor. At the same time, that monstrous devil in the distance was sent flying by over 10,000 feet. Meanwhile, the demonic aura surrounding him had also diminished. Clearly, both parties were injured in this head-on collision. However, the missing demonic aura around that devil was quickly replenished at a frightening rate. Clearly, this was because the seal placed on him was gradually weakening. In fact, once that seal disappears, he would return to his peak condition. Ha ha, the both of you are too slow. I am becoming more and more powerful. What can you guys do to me? That devil had naturally detected his advantage. Immediately, his wild laughter was just like thunder as it resounded through this dark space. It is too early for you to be celebrating. A cold chuckle was suddenly transmitted from the sky. After which, one saw Lin Dong standing in the sky. Meanwhile, his ancient universe formation had begun to rotate. Soon after, he twirled his hands before black light swirled around one hand, while lightning glow crackled on the other. Faintly, two ancient symbols were visible. With two ancestral symbols as the eye of the formation, I refuse to believe that I cannot finish you off. Two ancient symbols suddenly shot out from Lin Dong's hands. After which, they flew directly into the ancient universe formation, which was hovering in the sky. Immediately, black light and lightning glow shone down from the ancient universe formation in all directions. Ancient universe formation, slay the devil. Lin Dong's hand seals changed rapidly before a low cry was suddenly emitted from his mouth. Buzz. After his cry, the ancient universe formation began to rotate violently. Immediately, countless rays of light crisscrossed before they directly sealed that devil. Following which, a frightening strength was emitted and it swiftly purified the demonic aura around that devil. Sizzle sizzle. Dense white fog spread from within that devil's body. The latter was startled upon seeing this. He hurriedly circulated his demonic aura and ruthlessly attacked the light curtain prison, which was formed by those rays of light. Bang! However, despite using his full strength, he was only able to create a few ripples on that light curtain and it showed no signs of collapsing. Do you really think that you can destroy me with this? In your dreams? At this moment, a ferocious glint flickered within that devil's eyes. Suddenly, his humongous body emitted waves of low and deep explosive noises, before his already massive body swelled even further. Meanwhile, waves of extremely terrifying ripples were swiftly formed. TSK, little fellow. You came a little too late. Right now, the Great Desolate Tablet seal has hardly any impact on me. Once I escape and regain my full strength, all of you shall be squashed like ants. A loud arrogant laughter sounded. The body of that devil swelled to its limit, and even with two great ancestral symbols, the ancient universe formation was unable to completely suppress him. Moreover, once he broke free from the formation's restraint, he would be able to escape from the Great Desolate Tablet. At that time, the Great Desolate Tablet seal would become completely useless. Lin Dong, we must not allow him to escape from the Great Desolate Tablet. Yang's somewhat anxious voice sounded. Lin Dong clenched his teeth, before he pushed the ancient universe formation to its limit. No way, he is recovering far too quickly. Even two ancestral symbols cannot suppress him. Well, then add another one. Yang swiftly replied. Add another one? Lin Dong was startled. However, he quickly came to a comprehension. Then, he hurriedly cried out, Huan Huan, lend me your ice ancestral symbol. Ying Huan Huan nodded immediately upon hearing Lin Dong's cry. She beckoned with her hand, before an ancient icy cold symbol shot out from her hand without hesitation. Finally, it headed straight towards Lin Dong. The ice ancestral symbol hovered in front of Lin Dong. He involuntarily took a glance at this ancestral symbol, which could freeze the entire world. After which, his eyes turned towards that devil, which had swelled to its limit, before a grin surfaced on the corner of his lips. Trying to escape? I'm afraid that it isn't going to be so easy. Lin Dong did not hesitate once he received the ice ancestral symbol. With a flick of his finger, the ancestral symbol turned into a flash of cold light that was directly cast into the enormous ancient universe formation in the sky. Buzz. When the ice ancestral symbol was cast into the formation, rays of light immediately exploded from the ancient universe formation as its power levels rapidly multiplied. Ah! With the aid of the third ancestral symbol, the body of the devil figure which had swelled to its limits was forcibly compressed. Devil Chi swiftly faded as rays of light shined on its body, while miserable shrieks rang out without end. It is not so easy to destroy this king. At this moment, the devil figure also felt the threat of death and it immediately howled in anger. Devil Chi crazily surged, forcibly pushing away those countless rays of light. Lin Dong's expression was cold. His hand seals suddenly changed as a low voice echoed, Extreme Trinity Devil Extermination. Swish! 3 rays of light abruptly shot forth from within the ancient universe formation. These 3 light rays were black, silver and blue. They seemed tiny, but but the ancestral symbol power contained within them was as pure as it could be. These 3 rays of light shot down towards the devil figure from 3 different directions. Threads of light extended from them, forming an enormous triangle that sealed the devil figure. 3 ancient symbols appeared at the 3 corners of this light formation as a mighty and ancient power spread outwards. Buzz. Once the triangle light formation was formed, endless black light, lightning and an icy aura seemed to fill the sky as they surged forth. The devil chi that blotted the sky was swiftly beaten back, while the glowing triangle shrunk at an astonishing speed. As the light triangle shrunk, the devil figure that was sealed within it also started to be rapidly compressed. Crazed roars of rage continued to emerge. Lindong's eyes were cold. His gaze was firmly fixed on the swiftly shrinking light formation. In a dozen breaths, the originally 10,000 feet tall devil figure was now merely a foot tall. Devil extermination. At this instant, an ominous glint abruptly flashed in Lindong's eyes. The triangle light formation suddenly exploded as the torrential devil chi frantically disappeared. A mournful cry of despair quickly followed suit. Bang! An indescribable shock wave unfurled in the air. The dark domain completely crumbled, while the devil chi within vanished into nothingness at this moment. Ugh! Lindong was also hit by the aftershocks. He immediately felt a sweetness in his throat and he spit out a mouthful of fresh blood as his figure shot backwards. Soon after, he felt a soft force on his back as an ice-cold hand pressed against his back and stopped him. Lindong wiped the blood at the corner of his mouth as he tilted his head back to gaze at a beautiful face that was mere inches away. Both of them seemed to be able to clearly feel the other's breaths whilst they looked into each other's eyes. A faint flush swiftly rose on that pretty face that was as fair as snow. "Are you all right?" Ying Huan softly said. Lindong nodded, before casting his gaze into the distance. The devil chi within the domain had already completely vanished. Pillars of light shot into the dark domain, expelling the darkness. "Is that fellow dead?" Ying Huan's beautiful eyes scanned the area. Unable to find the devil figure, she could not help but ask. "It is still not completely dead. These Yimo are indeed extremely difficult to deal with." Lindong shook his head. Soon after, he beckoned with his hand and a light beam shot out from within the ancient universe formation and landed in his hand. It was a palm-sized triangle crystal. However, there was devil chi swirling within it. The devil chi seemingly transformed into a black bead the size of a longan. "What is this?" Upon seeing this, Ying Huan asked in surprise. "Something good." Lindong laughed. This bead was the product of compressing the true king to the limit. The true king's mind had already been erased, and what was left was a power that was berserk to the extreme. Although such energy could not be absorbed, if one encountered a tough foe in future, this energy could be released. Even Lindong felt a little fearful of its power. With a flip of his hand, Lindong kept the bead sealed within the triangle crystal. Subsequently, he focused and the ancient universe formation in the sky slowly faded, before transforming into a flash of light that shot into his body. When the light formation faded, 3 specks of light rapidly descended and transformed into 3 ancient ancestral symbols. Your ice ancestral symbol." Lindong kept the devouring ancestral symbol and the thunderbolt ancestral symbol into his body, before handing over the ice ancestral symbol to Ying Huan. He took an additional look at the ice ancestral symbol with some curiosity. Amongst the 8 great ancestral symbols, besides the 2 ancestral symbols in his body, he had only seen the flame ancestral symbol and the ice ancestral symbol. When Ying Huan saw Lindong's curious gaze, her jade-like hand gently tucked her beautiful ice blue hair behind her ear as she faintly smiled and said, "If you like, I can give it to you." "You are very generous, her. Do you really think that this is some cheap cabbage?" Upon hearing this, Lindong could not help but chuckle as he shook his head. To be capable of casually giving away something like the ancestral symbol, she was likely the only one in this world. However, he naturally could not accept a gift like this. Subsequently, he handed over the ice ancestral symbol and said, "Only you can bring out the full potential of this ice ancestral symbol. Even if you give it to me, whether or not I'll be able to subdue it will be another issue." Moreover, it is too precious and I cannot accept it. Ying Huan was silent. When she saw that Lin Dong had no intention of keeping it, she reached out to receive it. Her fingertip gently touched it and the ice ancestral symbol disappeared into her hand. The devil chi has already faded, the great desolate tablet should recover, right? Lin Dong turned his gaze downwards. The originally bare land there was now decorated by lush green vegetation, while faint life energy started to spread in this domain. At the center of the land, the evil blackness on the great desolate tablet also started to recede at a shocking speed. In its place was an ancient aura. Since you've already awoken, why are you still pretending to be asleep? Great desolate tablet, you are not honest at all. Ying Huan indifferently glanced at the recovered great desolate tablet and suddenly said. He, as expected of the Ice Master's reincarnation, as Ying Huan's words faded, an old laughter emerged from the great desolate tablet. It sounded a little embarrassed. Ying Huan's previous identity was even more senior than this great desolate tablet. Hence, even an ancient and monstrous existence like itself was unable to play its senior card. Light gathered on the great desolate tablet and an old figure slowly appeared. This elder had a head full of white hair and a gentle smile filled his face. He smiled at Lin Dong and said, "Many thanks, little friend. Elder is too courteous. I naturally have to fulfill the promise I made. Moreover, I have already received Elder's reward back then." Lin Dong smiled as he replied. The reward he spoke of was naturally the Great Desolation Scripture. Although he rarely used the Great Desolation Scripture in the past 3 years, it had helped Lin Dong get through dangerous situations time and time again. Thus, he was rather thankful towards this Great Desolate Tablet. Is the old fellow within your body not coming out to meet an old friend? When I sensed it back then, it was in a dire state. However, I believe that it has recovered substantially. The Great Desolate Tablet chuckled as he spoke. As his words faded, a gentle white light shot out from within Lin Dong's body. Yang appeared and gazed at the Great Desolate Tablet as a smile surfaced on his face. "You're really tenacious, her old fellow, even this was unable to kill you. Ha ha, since even you have yet to die, how can I possibly dare to leave first?" Lin Dong chuckled as he heard the conversation between the two. Although they seemed to be at odds with each other, he could sense the deep feelings between them. These two were the two most powerful great divine objects created by the symbol ancestor, and were naturally on extremely good terms. Since you have already recovered, it is pointless to stay here. What are your plans? Why not leave with one of them? While Yang was chatting with the Great Desolate Tablet, his eyes flashed as he suddenly asked. The Great Desolate Tablet and Yang clearly had a great understanding of each other. After seeing the flash in the latter's eyes, he was first a little stunned, before he quickly smiled and said, "In your opinion, which choice will be better?" Yang laughed dryly but did not reply. Lin Dong felt a little awkward. He naturally understood what Yang wanted to say. This fellow wanted him to accept the Great Desolate Tablet. However, finishing off that true king from before was not his merit alone. Moreover, he was not willing to take advantage of Ying Huan. Of course, he could faintly sense the deeper underlying intention. However, it was too far away and he did not want to think about it. For a time, the atmosphere was a little silent and strange. After all, with Ying Huan here, Yang did not dare to be too obvious. In their silence, Ying Huan looked at Yang with a smile that did not seem to be a smile on her face. Upon seeing this, Yang could only release a hollow laugh. "You should follow him. Having both of your support will be good." Ying Huan turned her gaze towards the Great Desolate Tablet as she faintly smiled and declared. Since the Ice Master says so, this old one can only listen. Young brother Lin Dong, are you willing to allow this old one to follow you?" The Great Desolate Tablet smiled and asked. Lin Dong did not reply. He tilted his head and stared at Ying Huan. The latter used her clear ice-blue eyes to meet his gaze. He did not know what was contained in the depths of those beautiful eyes. This lasted for a moment, before Lin Dong softly sighed in his heart. Soon after, he nodded at the Great Desolate Tablet. Heh. Yang chuckled, but did not linger in this strange atmosphere. His figure moved and transformed into a flash of light that tunneled into Lin Dong's body, while the great desolate tablet also hastily returned to the tablet. Let's go. After the long silence, Lin Dong shook his head and turned around. With a wave of his sleeve, the space in front of him split open. Just as he was about to leave, he felt a tug at the corner of his clothes. Slightly stunned, he immediately turned his head. Ying Huan stared at him as her teeth bit into her red lips, while a strange look was present in her beautiful eyes. While you were away for 3 years, I would go to the Great Yang Empire to visit your parents every year. Lin Dong forced a smile. He already knew about this matter from Liu Yang. There was this one time that I met someone else. She belongs to 9 Heaven's Supreme Purity Palace, and she seems to be called Ling Qingzhu, right? Lin Dong looked at Ying Huan's icy and penetrating eyes. For a time, cold sweat appeared on his forehead. This was a disaster. This episode ends here.